work in education, and as part of our movements, we go to schools and we read to children, and we go to less fortunate areas and we engage with children directly. So 6 months ago, we went to this very poor village in Lebanon. And as part of reading to children, I think, yeah, I'll just hold this. So as part of our activities to read with children, we went to this mountain, which is very, they don't have access to internet, they don't have access to electricity, and we were reading physical, we had physical books with us. So the author, which is Fatma Sharafuddin, who you can see there, she started reading the book. And all of a sudden, the 7-year-old started repeating after her. And she memorized every single word in that book. So we stopped and we said, you know, who's that girl? And we found a lot of, you know, young children, and we had to kind of move them. And then we found this girl and we said, do you have this book? She said, yes. We said, you know, is it at home? She said, no, it's at Lamsa. Right? So I'm here to talk to you about Lamsa today, and you'll understand by the end of my talk what I mean. If you know this, this is Burj Khalifa. Who's seen this on TV? Yeah? Not a lot of you. So Burj Khalifa is one of the largest, if not the largest building in the world, and this was from last year's New Year's fireworks. So it was the largest firework around the world. So a lot of people associate the Middle East with things like that, right? With luxurious cars, with money, right? But that's not actually the case all the time. If you closely look at this map, you realize that the Middle East is in a very bad situation today. We've got several wars that you see in red. We've got a lot of instability. We've got a lot of chaos. And we're talking about a population of about 350 million people. So it's not a small population. So if we put that beautiful, rosy image aside, and we look at what's happening here, we see that a lot of kids are deprived from education today because they can't go to school. Because if they go to school that day, they might be killed, right, or kidnapped. And that's the case in many of these red countries which you see around, you know, this map, and you probably look at in the news. And so what do we do about it? And not only that, by working with children, we realize that media and their surrounding affects them so negatively. I was speaking to a few of my colleagues yesterday, explaining how we do workshops with children. And when we ask them to come out with stories, like Jason said, chants, unfortunately, we hear kids talking about terrorism and talking about how they see the world a very negative place. And we're talking about 5- and 6-year-olds. And that's not positive, right? When you've got 5- and 6-year-olds talking about their imagination leads them to something which is a terrorism attack or something like that, because that's all they see in news. So we decided to do something about it, right? For over the last few years, we've been working on a project called Lamsa, which I'm going to be describing to you today. And the objective of this project is really to educate kids in a way that really, you know, I give a lot of credit to the other speakers today that, you know, they introduced everything related to technology and the divide and what's happening and how kids have access to that. So I'm not going to bore you with that, but what I'm going to tell you is I'm going to leverage that because they've done an amazing job with that and say, yes, we all know that kids have access to these devices. So we decided to jump on that wave and give these kids that don't have access to schools and that really see the world around them as a very negative, dark place, a positive window to the world, right? And we've done that by working not just in the Middle East. So I'm based in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, but also working with different partners. So what we've done is we've looked at all the regional content that's there. So publishing, book publishing, games, you know, whatever it is that has to do with children education. We've worked with these people, but we've also gone abroad. So international partners like, you probably know these guys. Who knows them? Yeah, some hands up, yeah. So I chose Plaza Sesamo, I hope I said that right. In English it's Sesame Street, in Arabic it's Iftah Ya Simsim. So we work with partners like that, and we actually take the content that was built for things like TV and books and different traditional channels, and we recreate digital experiences. And I want to talk to you about that today. So when we look at books, and my colleagues mentioned earlier that there's a big movement of taking books and digitizing that. That's true, but we actually, we believe that it's the right time to think even in a more advanced manner by saying we recreate digital experiences, right? So we don't just take a book and make a PDF or EPUB format of that. What we actually do and what we encourage everyone to do is to participate in making education fun, in making education cool. The fact that we need to realize is that we are, as educators, competing with entertainment companies, right? So you've got, and I talk to children a lot, and when I talk to a 5-, 6-year-old and I say, what's your favorite book? What's your favorite subject? And his answer or her answer says, Minecraft, right? And that's a reality. That's a reality. I've got 2 kids, so my daughter's 8 and my son's 6. And if I allow them, the whole day will be just a Minecraft game, Minecraft day, right? And I see a lot of parents saying yes. So we're not saying entertainment's bad. What we're saying is we should make education fun and cool, that kids actually want to do that. Because no matter how much as parents or educators we kind of say you have to do it, or we use different incentives, the most, and you educators would kind of agree with me, the most important element is intrinsic motivation. And that only develops when kids feel that they're enjoying what they're doing and it's really fun, just like the recycling example which we just saw. And how do we achieve that? The way that we look at it over, from our experience over the past few years, it's about building ecosystems and demolishing ecosystems, right? I don't know how that will translate in Spanish in your ears, right? Maybe Janine can help with finding it. So we've been in education, and by working with a lot of educators, I've noticed that there's so much pride in our knowledge and our experience, which is great because we need that. But it's time for us to work together, young people, old people, academics, creative people, innovators. It's time for us to really work together to make a difference and to impact. So I'm so happy to be in a college today to be talking to you guys, because from my point of view, what education needs more of is designers, animators, illustrators, people that can actually use that talent that they have and employ it towards education, right? The subjects are there, and we've been hearing great things about how, education can help teachers, but what we need really help with is to make it really entertaining and to kind of promote the concept of edutainment, so combining education with entertainment. And that can only be done with fresh new ideas that come from universities, from young talented people, right? What you see here is an ecosystem that we've developed over the past 3 years. And not only do we need just talent, we need everyone to work together. So most of these brands are Arabic brands, but I'll just explain the concept. So over the top, you'll see that we've partnered up with every single telecom company. So we need telecom companies to deliver content and deliver, distribute education. And a lot of, I'm not sure about Mexico, but all over the world, telecoms are becoming interested in that, delivering education. So that's an opportunity for us to build relationships with. And then app stores, we work closely with Apple and Google, and they just really love education. right? So I encourage all of you, whoever is doing anything about education, to speak to Apple and speak to Google and tell them, look, I'm developing something that's really awesome, that's really fun, and that's really creative. And the only way that they would kind of give you attention is if your design is really nice, right? And that's a tip that's, something that we learned the hard way, right? So they won't look at something that looks boring or that looks too academic. It really needs to look really attractive, design-wise, user interface, user experience. And that's why we need great talents to make that relationship start. So we work with schools as well and retailers, right? But the most important thing I want to highlight is MBC Group. So that's the largest media company in the Middle East, which has access to 100 million families, right? 100 million people in terms of viewership. So we've developed a strategic partnership with them, which allows us to talk to parents, right? So in today's world, you might look at amazing examples like Angry Bird and things like that and say, ooh, it was great, I'm going to develop an app and it's just going to skyrocket. But if you talk to a lot of people, they'll say that's difficult to happen, right? It's not, you're not guaranteed that. So you need media, and media needs you, right? So educators need to really, all of us in education need to really touch base and contact the media companies around us, because it's a time that, again, talking about ecosystems, we need to work with them to leverage the screens that they have, and they have to work with us because they can no longer sustain what they're doing without people like us in education and technology. Again, government and non-government and universities are so crucial to the success of a digital education ecosystem. So we've built a lot of these relationships, and I'm just gonna share with you the result of that. So over the last 3 years, we've developed a user base of about, more than 3.5 million kids have used LEMSA. And not only, as my colleague said, so building traction is, building, downloads is important, but more importantly is for them to enjoy it and keep on coming back and back for education. And so I'm happy to share with you that our stories and content has been read more than 250 million times. So that shows that, yes, if we do apply game logic, if we do apply fun stuff, if we make education fun, kids will consume it, and that's eventually what we want, right? The way that we talk to them needs to be also very smart, so kids don't like to tell them that come here so that you're going to learn. You need to be very smart. We need to use creative minds. We need to use advertising techniques and concepts, just like how Coca-Cola makes Coca-Cola a lifestyle product that we can't live without. We need to also think about education that way. And I'm going to ask the guys there to play the video to show you how we position LEMSA on TV channels, so that you just get a feel of what I'm talking about. And the audio didn't work, so I can sing for you now. I don't have a nice voice, but I could try. It's working.
لمسة، قصص وألعاب وأغاني حتخلي بالك فاضي وطفلك دايما راضي. حمل لمسة الآن.
توتة توتة هزت الحتوتة.
Right, so when we were developing, I need audio. So when we were developing this with the creative teams, we had tons of producers, and at the beginning it was just like, okay, we come in and we say, we open a book, and And I said, guys, no. We can't do that. We need to be fun. We need to be proactive, and it needs to be positioned as something emotional. Because when you deal with early education, so we focus on younger children, right? Up to grade 3. And why we chose grade 3 is because that's a pivotal point where children move from earlier, like up to grade 3 or 8 years old, they're learning how to read. And then from grade 3 onwards, they read to learn. So that's a pivotal point. And studies in the US by the educational councils and boards have showed over years that the reading level of a child at that point has almost a very large degree of effect on their future success, which is scary if you have children, right? So you should focus on that age. So we wanted to really make education into something emotional and get the trust of parents, but the liking of children. And that's a combination. If you work in early education, you would know that it's really difficult. Because what parents like or what parents trust is not necessarily what kids like. So if you're able to crack that with an emotional message and an appealing message, you have a good case to start with. So I always urge, to think about parents and also kids, because they've become really empowered users today. Now, when we saw that our application is being downloaded and used and reached, few million people, and it's impacting people's lives, we said, okay, how do we take it to the next level? Because what we realized was we're really impacting people's lives. So when we tell them to do something, they actually go and do it and send us pictures on social media and communicate with us. So we said, okay, let's take it a step further. So what we did was we launched something called LAMSA Academy. And what this academy does is that it was the first movement, if you've heard of the maker movement. So it was the first maker movement initiative in our region. And the idea was to get kids not just to consume what we're sending them or what we're developing, but to put them in the center of the action and have them come out with the creative ideas, right? And to give them that sense of involvement. And guess what? When content is created from children and sent back to children, the impact is just amazing. It's phenomenal. So we tried that, and what we did is we call them high impact programs. And the reason we do that is that we always take a cause. So the first cause that we worked with was traffic safety. So a lot of people in our region don't wear seat belts. I don't know, is that a common thing here? No, people wear seat belts? Great. So in our part of the world, people, here they don't wear seat belts. Yeah, so we have something in common. Okay, so what we did was we actually, there was the traffic, it was a traffic week, and the government wanted to spend millions on advertising on streets, saying the traffic rates, the accident rate does this or that. So I came in and I said, look, you're going to spend millions on billboards and people are just going to look at it and look away. So I proposed a concept which they accepted and we implemented, which was to get kids to create very powerful emotional messages to their parents, their brothers, their sisters, and the entire society around them. So what that does is it does two things. First, it actually affects the parents. So when your child comes with a half tear in his eye and with a very emotional story and says, Dad, I love you, come back home, wear a seatbelt, and we teach them how to be emotional as well, right? So what that does is, even if 50% of the parents didn't actually care, the other 50 will care, right? But then the most important thing is that this child that wrote this message, and he's 8 years old now, in 10 years, he's going to be driving. And again, we take the same philosophy. If 50% forgot what they said to their parents, at least 50% will wear that seatbelt because they were promoting that message one day, right? So this is what I mean about high impact messages and high impact programs. The second program that we did was about, so one of the countries that we worked with was, they wanted to launch a metro system and a public transportation. They didn't have that, right? So again, they created amazing metro stations and equipment and all of that. But then when they wanted to launch it, they saw that the public response was not so great. And then I sat down with my creative team and I said, look, how can we change that? And we said, let's make public transport cool. It was simply an idea that public transport was used by mainly people that were doing labor work, right? So, average citizens did not want to get on a public transport because they felt it was less cool. So what we did was, again, we created high impact programs by having children of the society come in and create messages about how beautiful the metro is and as a lifestyle, and really it made a very high impact. Now, when I say these programs, we've worked with about 100,000 children so far physically, right? So we're not talking about 1,000, so it's like 100,000, so we really take it to the next level. And I'm going to show you just a short video now of a program that we did, and it was the official launch of Sesame Street in our region, right? And we did that together, and we did the whole creative concept. And I'm going to ask the video guys to play this.
الحكاية طبعا كانت فكرة وليدة يعني من 6 أشهر تقريبا. هي أول فعالية متخصصة.
So this is how we took the space. It was about 10,000 square meters.
هي الأولى من نوعها في الشرق الأوسط.
And this is what I mean when I say it has to look cool, it has to be fun. You can't just work within something that's low quality and compare that to entertainment. If we are to compete with entertainment, to grab the attention of kids, we need to really do it right. Engaged with 65,000 kids in this activity over 5 days. These are the workshops that, you'll see glimpses of workshops that we delivered to both kids and youth, having them create messages back to society and learning, different concepts of education. And look at that pause there. When that child came and she was so proud, she came to her mother with something that she was doing related to education, but you see that smile, it was, you know, as if she was walking out of an amusement park or an entertainment park, but she was actually learning something, right? This is my favorite art piece, and it's been developed by Eric Carle. Who knows Eric Carle here? Okay, one person. That's good. Can we clap for her, please? So Eric Carle is the most famous artist of children books around the world, and he's got a book that's called The Very Hungry Caterpillar. And I'm sure it's in your homes, but it's called something else in Spanish, right? So this book has been sold over 350 million times around the world. And I went and visited Eric Carle and his museum a few months ago, and I took a picture with that actual butterfly. And I asked, I said, you know, why did you know, what's the, explain to me this beauty. And Eric said, there's this caterpillar, and usually it's an ugly thing that, you know, kids don't kind of like to play with, and it's like really something that's not so beautiful. But then, you know, if you give it the right food, if you take care of it, it develops into this beautiful butterfly that has amazing wings and colors and takes children to a world of imagination, a world of hope, a world of, you know, everything is just open to them. And so it's not just I'm showing you this because it's my favorite piece. I actually saw a beautiful butterfly out there in the college, so I'm going to take a picture with that as well. But it's actually, I want to kind of throw the responsibility back at you guys here, saying, you know, I've explained to you, or I've kind of just taken you over what we've done in our part of the world, which is about 30 hours. I had to fly for 30 hours. So forget our part of the world. I'm saying, look at what we've done there, and how with a small team that has high hopes and a vision and ambition, we were able to impact so far 3.5 million kids. And I'm saying you guys can do that as well. There is no reason why you can't put these wings on the children of Mexico and the children of the whole region here. And you have something really special, which is you also share a language, right? We saw speakers here from the different areas. So that's something really powerful. And I've kind of interacted with lots of talents from around this part of the world, in the US and in different places. And believe me, if there is an ambitious part of the world, like I see the most ambition coming from this part of the world. Like when they explain to me what they want to do, I see tears coming out of there. Like they're really emotional. And you guys are really passionate, right? You can see that in your food, you can see that in your lifestyle, in your dance and everything. Why don't we take that passion and create wings for children? And that's what I'm calling for, and that's what I encourage you guys to do. Whether you're a designer, whether you're an illustrator, whether you're an animator, whether you're a student, whether you're a teacher, every single person in this room, or that you know of, we have a chance now to use your talents, your creativity, and create wings. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. If you guys want to have a chat. Yeah? Thank you.